Ashley Byers was just 24 years old when she met 54-year-old Doug Benefield. Doug was a widower who lost his wife Renee 9 months before he met Ashley. But in just 13 days, Doug was no longer single, and Ashley's last name was no longer Byers. It was Benefield. Together, they lived in Charleston. Ashley was a former ballerina, and she wanted to start a ballet company. Together with Doug, they launched a ballet company featuring dancers who didn't fit the prototypical ballet dancer profile. But as they were starting this very expensive venture, Ashley got pregnant and moved to Florida to be with her mother. From that point forward, the ballet company imploded, and their relationship became very strained. Ashley accused Doug of stalking her, and Doug accused Ashley of preventing him from seeing his child. This battle was fought inside family court, and Ashley was not winning. She was losing. Then she told Doug she wanted to reconcile, while she secretly had no intention of ever getting back together. Doug went to her house to help pack for a mutual move to Maryland, a move which did not happen because Ashley shot and killed Doug. She claimed self-defense, but the prosecution says it was murder, and now, for the first time, Ashley Benefield tells her story in front of the jury. We'll break it down and examine her body language as we are live from the courthouse in Manatee County, Florida for Day 4 of the Black Swan Murder Trial.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. We've seen a lot of self-defense cases here on CourtTV, and we've seen some people be very successful in these cases. Let's take a look. Remember Kyle Rittenhouse? Big case out of Wisconsin. Took the stand in his own defense. There was also some video evidence in that case. But at the end of the day, he told his story. The jury believed him, and he was found not guilty. Just recently on CourtTV, you saw it. Marsha Thompson told her story, and it was similar to Ashley Benefield's, talking about abuse. And guess what? The jury bought it, and she was found not guilty. Also in the state of Florida, Curtis Reeves, remember him, retired police officer, same area in that Tampa Bay area of Florida, was inside a movie theater and shot and killed the man he was getting into an argument with after popcorn was thrown on him. He told his story to the jury, and he was found not guilty. Well, today was the day for Ashley Benefield. She told her story, and the jury, it's not that the jury's out. The jury hasn't gone out yet because the trial is still continuing, but the jury got to hear everything that she said, and that raises the questions. Did they believe what she said? Does her story make sense? Is she credible? Do they believe her? Let's take you right inside the courtroom because I want you to see and hear some of the most important testimony, which is Ashley Benefield talking about the moment she shot and killed her estranged husband, Doug.
I ran.
Where?
To my room.
Why?
Because I was scared.
Ashley, did you have anything in your room that could protect you?
I had my gun.
Did you grab the gun?
Yes.
As you're grabbing the gun, what, if anything, did you hear?
I heard the door hitting the doorstop.
As if it is flung open?
Yes.
And what do you see, Ashley, when you look up?
Doug was standing in the doorway. His face was red. Like the veins were bulging in his neck. The way he was looking at me, it didn't even look like Doug. His eyes were black.
Does he yell anything at you?
He said, "You're done."
What does he do at that point?
I held the gun like in front of me, and I said, "Stop." And he like turned and he got into this like a fighting stance. I got low and he started like moving his arms and his hands around. And he was making these like jerking motions.
What were you expecting when you were holding the gun out in front of you and you told him to stop?
I thought when he saw it, he would leave.
Did he?
No.
At that point, Ashley, what are you thinking?
I thought he was gonna kill me.
Tell us what happens next.
He started coming towards me, and then he lunged at me, and I started pulling the trigger. And he just kept coming. And I remember trying to move to get away from him, but he kept coming at me.
Ashley, would you tell us why, if you're holding a loaded firearm, you were attempting to move away?
I was trying to get away from him. I was terrified.
All right, so you're firing. He keeps advancing. What happens next?
It was like his feet slipped out from under him and his legs went up in the air.
When Doug hits the floor, what's your immediate reaction?
I ran to get help.
Can you tell us how many shots you fired?
I have no idea. I was in a panic.
Everything at stake. Everything at stake. This becomes the case when the defendant takes the stand, especially in a self-defense case. This is it. They are judging her. They are judging her story. What a big moment. Let's go right to Bradenton, Florida, to the courthouse. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Krapf joins us on this huge day in the Black Swan Murder Trial. Kelly, great to see you. Describe that scene for us. This is such a big, big day today with Ashley Benefield taking the stand.
Well, hi there, Vinnie. Big day. And we didn't really know if she was going to testify in this case or not. Defense counsel has been very tight-lipped about this. So when he called her as the second witness today, it was very quiet inside the courtroom. Everyone, of course, anxiously anticipating to see what she is going to say on the stand. And I was watching the jurors as she was testifying, and there's one person in particular that is taking a lot of notes, one of the younger jurors taking so many notes. And some women, when she was talking, when Ashley was describing what was taking place, I noticed one in particular really shaking her head in agreement, like she was agreeing or understanding what Ashley Benefield was talking about. But it was a big moment when she got up there and she started to talk about exactly what took place. As you just heard, and all our viewers just heard her describing those moments that she shot and killed her husband. Some of the testimony also today was the moments preceding that shooting. Why don't we go ahead and listen to some of that testimony?
What was your response, Ashley, after being struck by the cardboard box?
I apologized.
Why would you have apologized?
Because I could see how upset he was, and I didn't want him to get more mad at me.
Where does Doug go after that incident?
He continued to the garage with the box.
And what happens at that point?
We started getting into a back and forth about being done for the day and what still needed to be packed and that I wanted to be done. And we ended up in our daughter's bedroom, and he started screaming at me. He said, "Shut the up." He started calling me names. And he said, I can see what you're doing. You're trying to get me to leave. He said, I don't have to leave. I can stay and spend the night if I want to because I'm your husband.
And Vinnie, it was really interesting to watch her give a demonstration, especially on the cross-examination, when the prosecutor asked her to stand up and to demonstrate exactly what she did, how Doug was acting, and she was really questioning her, the prosecutor, on how Doug's hands were. Were they fists? Were they like fists coming at you, or how were they? And Ashley was saying they were just kind of going back and forth like this. So watching that demonstration and watching everyone in the courtroom watch that demonstration, that was a sight to behold as well.
It's a big moment because the jury heard the testimony about the trajectory of the bullet. So how does her reenactment or description jive with that is a big, big issue for this jury. Wow. Reminded me a little bit of Jodi Arias years ago. Juan Martinez, the prosecutor, had her stand up and describe. In that case, there was a lunge as well. Let's talk about another part of this case. And I've been saying this, we've all been saying this from the beginning. Ashley Benefield's on trial, but because it's a self-defense case and the nature of this case, Doug Benefield has been put on trial by the defense. And I thought there was some damaging testimony, if the jury believes it, about Doug and Doug and his dog.
Certainly, Vinnie, yeah, and this kind of testimony doesn't exactly sit too well with a lot of people, because Ashley was talking about Doug, his behavior, and them getting into some disagreements, and how the dog got in the way, and then he ended up punching the dog. And so those can be pretty damaging remarks about her husband, and how then things like that could escalate into eventually really hurting her or her eventual child that she shared with Doug. Let's play some of that testimony in which she's talking about this dog incident.
We were having an argument, and he came at me like he was gonna hit me. And our dog, Sully, jumped up in between us, and he punched him in the face so hard that he knocked him out. I just remember screaming because I thought he had killed him.
Were there other times that Doug hurt the animals?
Yes, he had kicked, punched Sully. He threw our cat multiple times. Sometime he threw Snuffy down the stairs.
So defense counsel really getting Ashley to talk about a lot of these incidents on the stand that eventually go along with his theory of how things just kept building up over time.
And I understand that. The thing that's a little different about this case is, at the time of the shooting, they're not together anymore. They're living separately, and he's invited to her place to help her pack, which adds another dynamic to what was happening here. So let's get into that relationship. There were more text messages that the jury got to see, and to get a little more insight into the nature of what was going on in this relationship.
These text messages came out pretty early during the testimony, Vinnie. And so what she was talking about is how they met. She used some adjectives to describe Doug, that he was caring, they wanted to be together all the time. And then after they were married, she went on a cruise with her mother and a girlfriend. And then she said while she was on that cruise is when she started to notice things being a little different, and some of the text messages that Doug began sending her. Why don't we go ahead and play those for our viewers?
Knowing you were taken advantage of still in my mind makes me explode with anger to take them out. God made you for me. You haven't seen the warrior side and never want to. We went from joy and passion to now I'm in a testosterone rage inside. but kill the bad people. How long had you been married when you received these texts from Doug?
I believe it was about like a month or so.
And so that's what defense counsel was getting across on the stand with Ashley, that they were married, and then immediately, within about a month, Ashley started seeing this other side of Doug, Vinnie.
There's another witness I didn't know about that testified today, someone who heard the gunshots and saw Ashley Benefield. What was that testimony about?
Yeah, she was one of the last witnesses that we heard from today, and then eventually the jurors were sent home because there was a hearing as to whether this domestic violence expert is going to be testifying on Monday. But this woman you're looking at right here, she took the stand, and she was talking about hearing the gunshots and running out of the house. Let's go ahead and listen to her.
You say you heard some gunshots.
It sounded like gunshots.
All right. Now, after you heard the gunshots, did you observe anybody exit a house?
Quickly, as we were trying to make sure of our safety, we saw someone leave the house, a lady leave the house. It was, I mean, I don't know exactly, like timing-wise, because it's like I said, my mind was going through a lot of things.
Let me just keep you on the questions, okay? I'll help you. I'll lead you through it. You hear the gunshots. The next thing you see is what?
A lady came from the house and
Describe.
I remember screaming, and that's just the vivid recollection and memory that I have, just the screaming, and came from the house running to the neighbor's house. I don't remember too much other than the screaming and pounding on the neighbor's front door.
Is it a safe bet for us to say that this lady that you saw exit the house screaming was hysterical?
Yes, yes.
And so Vinnie getting across that was just a very tense moment for Ashley Benefield, the witness on the stand, saying that she was hysterical. So she testified soon thereafter after Ashley Benefield took the stand. And so kind of watching the different dynamics inside the courtroom once Ashley got off the stand was interesting as well. But just some takeaways, too, when Ashley was on the stand. Eva, Doug's daughter, did not like some of the things that Ashley Benefield was saying on the stand. So at one point, she got up and walked out of the courtroom. Very clear she was not happy about some of the things that Ashley Benefield was saying. And then even watching Doug's family members in the courtroom, they were shaking their heads in disagreement with a lot of the things that Ashley was saying on the witness stand.
Kelly Krapf live tonight in Manatee County. Rest up this weekend, big week next week as this trial wraps up. Thank you so much. Speaking of Doug Benefield's family, joining us now is Doug's cousin and the family spokesperson, Tommy Benefield. Tommy, thanks for joining us tonight. It was a big day. We've been waiting to hear what she was going to say, right? What her version was. In her description and things that she testified about, did you hear anything new that you never knew about before or never heard before? Did anything surprise you from her testimony today?
Well, what particularly surprised us was the fact that she's never told this story. Therefore, it can't be corroborated between her telling the 911 operator anything, her mother anything, Barbara Russell anything. So she's held on to this story the entire time. One thing I'd like to say, Vinnie, very quickly is our family has dealt with both counseling others, counseling family members, helping women in our family through domestic violence issues. So we're avidly against anything that would do that. And certainly in Doug's case, sad about those things. In particular, the punching the dog, knocking the dog out did not happen. You know, and everybody knows from the testimony that what Doug did do, he admitted to in those 3 months in 2017. But for 3 years and 9 months after that, there were no incidents. And he went through counseling. He was tested for all those measurements and the ability to test for an abuser, him being an abuser in any way, shape, or form, either to animals, and he was found not to be those things. and he spent 3 years trying to make up for the things he was sad over. In particular, Ashley's story, number one, we know she's a professional performer from her background. Sadly, there were no tears cried today while she appeared to be attempting to cry and tell her story. That was very, very apparent to everyone in the courtroom and many, many people outside. The second part of it is she finally describes the final events that happened. She says that gave her a reason to kill Doug. She did not, in any way, shape, or form, have the facts match her story. When you get shot with a .45 caliber pistol, the bullet that enters your right side of your body and goes through the left, it knocks you off your feet. He did not slip. There's no way he continued to come at her. And the distance between them was, we know from testimony yesterday, at least 5 or 6 feet or more. We know we saw photos today, she had hidden the gun, one of 2 guns in the room, in the laundry basket in this little cubby behind the mattress where he couldn't see it. And we know there was a box in the closet. We know he came in, he turned, we believe, and he was shot from the side. We don't believe her story at all. And we know that the facts and the evidence about Doug touching her or striking her or any of the allegations, DNA disproves that overwhelmingly so. No contact between them all evening long, none of his DNA on her, none of hers on him. So we dispute everything in her story tonight.
And finally, we have about 15 seconds. The reference to Doug abusing Renee today and trying to secretly record her. Renee, his prior wife, who had passed away 9 months before these two met. Your reaction to that information coming out before this jury?
Yes, sir, we read it. We saw the words. There was no context. And also, after that, they stayed married for 14 years, had a great daughter, Eva, that we've all seen, and were still together, married, and continuing their relationship when she passed away from the cardiac arrest.
Tommy Benefield, I know it's been a long week. You've got a weekend, and then this trial continues on Monday, so we will speak then. Thanks so much, Tommy.
Thanks, Vinnie. We're sad, but let's continue and let's get the rest of the facts out.
Absolutely. That's what trials are for. Search for the truth. When we come back, we're going to take a look at Ashley Benefield's body language with our experts, plus coming up next hour.
Suitcase Sarah Boone has been represented by 8 different lawyers. Now she's filed a flyer looking to hire a new attorney. Why would anyone ever take this case?
A former ballerina charged in the death of her husband.
Said that she attacked her and she shot him.
She's claiming that he is the aggressor in all of this.
I see a liar. I see a manipulator. She killed my dad.
Will the jury see her actions as self-defense?
Boy, did she have every reason to fear him.
Or murder?
The Black Swan Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on CourtTV.
I was scared to death. I thought he was gonna kill me. There was nowhere to go. I was trapped in my own house. He wouldn't let me leave.
Big day for Ashley Benefield, everything at stake. She takes the stand in her own defense, telling her story about why she shot and killed her estranged husband, Doug. Taking that stand, now it's time for the jury to judge her. Do they believe her? Do they not believe her? We heard the words. We saw a lot of things happening up there, but I need some experts to really understand this. Joining us tonight, human behavior expert, jury consultant Susan Constantine, and body language and statement analysis expert Bruce Jacobs. Thank you both for joining me tonight. We're going to begin with direct examination. We're going to start here. The next segment, we'll do the cross-examination. So let's start by taking a look at her describe what happened in the moment when she fired the weapon.
Doug was standing in the doorway. His face was red. Like the veins were bulging in his neck. The way he was looking at me, it didn't even look like Doug. His eyes were black.
Does he yell anything at you?
He said, "You're done."
And what does he do at that point?
I held the gun like in front of me, and I said, "Stop." And he like turned and he got into this like a fighting stance. I got low and he started like moving his arms and his hands around. And he was making these like jerking motions.
What were you expecting when you were holding the gun out in front of you and you told him to stop?
I thought when he saw it, he would leave.
Did he?
No.
At that point, Ashley, what are you thinking?
I thought he was gonna kill me.
Tell us what happens next.
He started coming towards me, and then he lunged at me, and I started pulling the trigger.
Okay, Susan, I'll begin with you. What are you seeing? What are you hearing here?
Well, there's a lot that's going on here. What I'm looking at is some of the asymmetry in her face. So when she's crying, usually when somebody's really sad, both sides of the mouth will turn down. If you notice, the one side only goes down. You see a lot of facial flushing, so she's kind of pushing a lot of emotion. You can see it in her face as it starts to flush. And also her brows go inward, almost in this direction versus going up in the corner, which is genuine sadness. But I'm not saying that she's necessarily lying here. We have a lot more information to go through here, and I'll give you my analysis towards the end because there's a lot to unfold here.
Bruce, what are you seeing? What are you hearing here?
Yeah, I saw some of the same stuff. I think some of the words that she was using is coached by her attorney, which is fine. I mean, it's using the correct words to demonstrate what was going on. The veins in his neck, his eyes were black. He lunged towards me in a fighting stance. Those are all coached words, but it doesn't take away from the emotion that she has. I thought her voice was synchronized, the pitch, the tone, the volume, the inflection in the flow. I didn't see anything wrong with that. Definitely tension in the face. And when she talks about shooting, her lips come together and she, in a stressful kind of press. And sometimes pressed lips is anger. But I didn't see anything else.
Okay, this is what I want to do because this was a unique situation during the direct exam. She tells the story of the moment, and there's the emotion that's happening, and then the defense attorney asks some time to allow her to compose herself. So the jury leaves, but everybody else has to stay where they are. So I want to take a look at that, and in real time, as we're watching it, tell me what you're seeing and what you notice about her when the jury's gone and she's just there trying to get her composure. So let's take a look at that clip now.
Judge, I wonder, could we have a minute, maybe a brief recess, to have her compose herself?
All right. Members of the jury, if you could step out for a couple of minutes, we'll bring you right back. Just leave your notes where they are.
Okay, so now the judge is giving some instructions, but we're just watching her. She's standing as the jury leaves out of respect. Susan, I'll start with you in real time, what you're seeing from her now in this moment to get her composure together.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I noticed too, she's really breathing high up in her chest, and this is when anxiety is really at its fullest. It's almost as if she was having like a slight anxiety attack. She's trembling. So the fact that she's trembling is telling me there's a lot of internal stress that's going on in her body. And you just can't fake that. That is really real. Her head is down. She's in this very defeated, collapsed position. I still see those glabella furrows in her middle of her eyebrows. So there's a lot of stress. There's still a lot of like almost kind of, well, sadness, but it's not quite. And I want to explain that why. Because even when we see these pressed lips, it's a conflict. It's when she's trying to mask a sadness and they try not to do that, so their face becomes more straightened and tightened. Now, her face is still flushed. There's lots of anxiety that's going on, a lot of grooming gestures, manipulators. You see her touching her hair. All these are self-soothing gestures. But I also looking at the duration, the flow, and the synchrony of those movements, one after the other, and they do tend to flow, and they come on, and they flow off. They don't go sharp, on, off, like we've seen with a lot, which would indicate more deception.
Bruce, how about you? There she's grabbing the tissue. The judge told her about it.
Right. So there's a lot of limbic responses. She was rubbing her legs. She was rubbing her hands. There she goes with the hair. These are limbic brain responses. She's having a fight, a flight, or a freeze response, and she can't do it. So she's definitely feeling emotion from this.
So I guess as you watch her, it's hard to discern, is it, and what the cause is, either the extreme stress of the moment, because this is the case, right? The jury has to believe her. Do you see anything that would indicate some level of deception, or is it difficult to uncover that with all the anxiety that she's under, Susan?
Well, first of all, you have to look for clusters and then compare that to our baseline. So we're seeing a completely different baseline, but it is in context to what's being asked. So you have to switch gears and going, okay, how would a normal person be under those kind of stressors, okay? What I want to share with you is we are dealing with, even though if she were to have committed this murder, or whether she did it intentionally or not intentionally, I do believe that she is traumatized. I think she does have PTSD when she explains it. I think that she goes back into those places where she forgets. And that's very common with people that have gone through a traumatic amount of trauma, whether they induced it or not. Both ways, you can see it happen in both scenarios.
Bruce, a lot of people have been talking about, hey, I didn't see tears. I didn't see tears. I see crying. I hear some sniffling, but I don't see anything coming out of the nose. I don't see tears coming down. Are you troubled by that at all?
No, not really in this case. She's definitely traumatized. You know, she's shaking. She's having her limbic responses like we just saw right there. So she's definitely feeling emotion. Again, she's not denying that she did this, right? So if she just did it just to kill him and wasn't feeling any emotion about it, she wouldn't be having these responses to that. So I don't see any deception in what she's doing. You know, the little bit of asymmetrical on her lips. But again, like Susan said, we compare that to baseline and we look for clusters. And I've seen a bunch of clusters of limbic responses showing emotion.
Okay, our experts are staying with us. When we come back, we'll take a look at the cross-examination and the moment where she is asked to stand up and show the jury what happened at the moment Doug was standing in front of her and she shot and killed him.
So he says you're done and you point the gun and you shoot.
I held it out in front of me first so he could see it. And I said, stop.
Welcome back. We're taking a look at the testimony of Ashley Benefield, self-defense case. We showed you the direct examination. We're going to get into the cross. Our body language experts still with us, Susan Constantine and Bruce Jacobs. So here we go. This is another interesting moment in the courtroom where the witness, the defendant, gets out of her chair and comes up and is standing in front of everyone. So I think you'll have a lot to work with here. Let's take a look.
So Doug opens the door and does what?
I'm standing in the doorway, kind of like this. He said, your gun. And I held the gun out in front of me and I said, stop. He got into this like fighting pose where he like turned sideways. And he was like moving around with his like arms in his hands. And he started like inching forward towards me.
So why do you call it a fighting stance?
Well, it's like a fighter. Like I don't know, like a ninja or something, I don't know.
Okay, so he's standing there, he turns to like this and starts moving his arms around.
Like that.
Well, show me, what was he doing?
Kind of like, I don't know, he got like this, and he was like making like fighting motions. I don't know, I'm not a fighter, I don't know.
Okay.
It was scary.
Did he have his hands in fists?
Not at that point, they were like, I don't know.
Was he coming at you like this?
When he lunged at me, he came very quickly.
Okay, so he lunged. Was his fist up when he lunged?
I don't remember.
Okay. So you start shooting, and he does what?
He kept coming at me.
Okay, so then you keep shooting again. And he falls down on his back?
His legs went up in the air.
Okay, where do his legs go?
In the air.
How high in the air?
I don't know.
Did they go over his head?
I don't know, it's like his feet slipped out.
Okay.
And his feet and his legs went up in the air.
And were you still shooting at the time?
I don't remember.
You can have a seat. So after this incident, you claim that you had swelling to your face, right?
Let's go ahead and take a minute. All right, members of the jury, can you please close up your notes, put them on your chairs. I'm going to ask you to step out for a minute. You can use the facilities. It's not quite our mid-afternoon break, but we'll treat it as such. Please don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't discuss it with anybody outside the jury. Don't do any research like we've talked about.
All right, our body language expert's back with us. Bruce, what did you see there?
Well, first of all, the anxiety that she's feeling, and then she's taken out of the box and stood in. I actually had to do that one time when I was testifying, and it's different sitting down, and then all of a sudden you're standing in front. So when the questions start to come, you can watch her hands. The camera angle is a little bit to the side. It almost looks like she has asymmetrical shoulders. So I'd like to see the camera right from the beginning. Asymmetrical shoulders, if you're looking at it right there, is a sign of tension. And sometimes it's seen as deception. It's the totality of the circumstances. But if you watch her hands, first of all, her hands come together like this, and then she starts pulling on her hands, which is very sensitive, very stressful for her. And then she grabs her wrist, but then she starts body blocking. So an limbic brain has a vested interest in protecting your organs. So she locks her wrist in front of her abdomen, and then when the DA walks away, she actually cups her hands and holds it in front of her heart. And at one point, she starts doing this. So this is sensitive, but when people start interlocking their fingers and rubbing, it's super sensitive. So, I mean, she's definitely feeling emotion. She doesn't want to be there. I don't believe she wanted to pull that trigger.
Susan, what'd you see?
This is where I think it starts to fall apart for her. Because when we see her coming out, her body language is what we call like a fig leaf, right? Her hands are down, her shoulders come up. This is what we call helplessness, right? So she's helpless, her hands are down, they tend to flay around a little bit. And when she's describing the most important parts of it, she doesn't have the appropriate illustrators to demonstrate what happened. So she says that, I don't know, about with the gun and the aggressive behaviors. She was talking about herself that she's never seen because she doesn't have those, okay? And I'm paraphrasing. What she transferred, and she shouldn't have transferred because this was not about her, it was about him, is what she saw. So she didn't do any sort of blocking or defensive type body language to protect herself. She doesn't do it. She cowers into it. So I think that overall, when you look at her body language, she looks defeated. She looks helpless. Her low posture, low confidence tells me she has low confidence in what she's telling us.
Bruce, how about how it ends? She goes back to the witness stand, is asked a question, but it just has the head down, is unable to answer. And that's actually how her testimony ends. They send the jury out, and then the prosecutor had no more questions, and the defense had no redirect. So it sort of ends on this note. What are you seeing right here?
So when she went back to the stand, she had her hand over her mouth. The face touching, it's a sensitivity kind of thing. And then I think she just, you can hear her blow her nose. So it's not a fake. You can hear stuff coming out of her nose. And then you can hear her trying to breathe. So I don't know if that's anxiety. It's definitely stress, but you can hear her trying to breathe. So that's what, but definitely she's feeling emotion from it.
And Susan, we have about a minute. I'll let you tie a bow on all this and kind of get us done with this segment. But she goes back, and this is the end of her testimony. Each time, though, she does recognize the jury and stands up for the jury. Like, so she, even though she was down here, when it's time for the jury to get out, she knows to stand up.
Right. She wants to make connection with the jury. So this is where I'm going to speak out about how this can happen both ways. Part of this is Othello error. You can look like you're guilty without being guilty at all because you have the fear of being disbelieved. She shows everything and all kinds of gestures that she has no confidence in what she's saying. She's highly timid, and that can happen with whether it happened to her, that she was abused, or the experience of having, she killed her husband. So it can go both ways. So that's why we can't just judge this on body language. It has to be both on language and also their voice, vocal expression, and also their facial expressions, all tied together, one tight little bow in what we call a cluster. And I do see clusters there, but it can go both ways. So I'm still not positive that she did it intentionally.
What's fascinating is, we did unscientific polls with the jurors, with the viewers, and about 55% don't believe, but the other 45% believe her to different degrees. Susan Constantine, Bruce Jacobs, thank you so much.